Hi, I'm James from Start Safety. Today we're looking at our range of speed bumps and some of the intricacies and bits and nuances that you might not know about speed bumps and how to choose the right ones. And later on we've got our special guest John, who's going to show you how to install them. So where do we use speed bumps? Speed bumps get used all over the place. Generally speaking, where there's a problem with speeding traffic or where you want to ensure that there isn't a problem with speeding traffic. So schools, hospitals, doctors, factories, warehouses, pretty much well everywhere. So before we dive into the installation side of things, we're going to look at some of the details that you may or may not know about speed bumps and why there are so many different variants of them. At Start Safety, we have approximately 6 different types you can choose from, but there are many more on the market, and choosing the wrong one can have non-impressive results, whereas if you get the right thing, it'll slow your traffic down, not cause anybody any particular aggro, and ensure that everybody's safe that's operating in the area. So let's get into it. Material, there's a wide choice to choose from. You've got recycled PVC, which is made from cable scrap. So this one here is made from exactly that. You can kind of see bits of cable in there. Great thing about that one is obviously recycling is good. It's durable, hard wearing. Yeah, not really much more to say about that one. Next up, you've got virgin PVC. Now the bonus of this is that in this particular instance, the whole speed bump is made from the same material throughout. So if you wear the top layer off, you're not going to end up with a different color coming through. But you do pay a price for that. Obviously, brand new plastic, expensive. It's quite a simple equation. Then you've got rubber. So this heavy beast is made from recycled truck tires, which have been needleized and then bound in a resin. These are great. They're hard wearing. Obviously, pretty much what as hard wearing as tires are themselves. And again, recycling equals good. Finally, we have hybrid speed bumps. Now, these are our own brand speed bumps. They are designed to be cost effective, yet still deliver great performance. And these are a thick coating of virgin material over recycled PVC. So again, you can kind of see the dots of color where cable scraps have been used to produce the speed bump. The bonus of these, when you compare it to a much cheaper alternative, which is a painted speed bump, is that it takes a long time to wear through the plastic on these. Whereas painted speed bumps, you've only got to have someone do a wheel spin on them in a car park, which is more frequent than you might think that happens. And you can wear the top paint off, and then you end up with a black speed bump. No one can see it. It kind of comes out of nowhere at them across the car park, and that doesn't make for a safe environment. The next thing to consider is what height of speed bump you require. Now, height is not the only factor when choosing your speed bumps in terms of how much it'll slow traffic down, but we'll get to the other factor in a moment. Most popular size that we sell, by far outstripping all the other sizes, is 50 millimeters. This will slow traffic down to approximately 10 miles an hour, which makes it suitable for car parks, driveways, that sort of application. Where you may want to choose other sizes, you've got 30 millimeter, which I don't have on the table here at the moment. That will slow traffic to around about 15 miles an hour. So that's good for your golf course driveway where, okay, 10 mile an hour might be a bit slow because you've got 200 or 300 meters to cover and people will just get fed up. And then finally, you've got 70 to 75 mile speed bumps. These will slow traffic down to around about 5 miles an hour. However, there are some caveats around this. We recommend that you only use them for HGV traffic or large vans. If you try and put them where there's a lot of car traffic, cars will ground out on them. We've supplied enough of these over the years to know that you just don't want to do that. You will be called back to the installation site to come and take them out and put lower ones in eventually, because it just happens every time. But for HGV traffic, 75 mil are great. They bring that traffic down to a sensible speed. So now we've covered height, let's look at the length, or is it the width of the speed bump? Common mistake that the customers make is they don't understand that the length when you're measuring a speed bump is the distance across a speed bump. So if you were looking down the speed bump as you're going to drive over it, that is the length. The width is the width of the roadway. The impact this has on how the speed bump performs, if you've got a longer length of speed bump, it makes the transition across the speed bump much more smooth. And you can get away with having things like a large 75 mil speed bump that's a meter long in a car park, because it means you've got a nice gradual transition. The front of the car isn't going to hit the speed bump, which is what we call grounding out. And that makes for a much smoother experience of driving over it. It will still slow down HGV traffic. The counterpoint to that is a shorter speed bump, much like this one, will be much more abrupt as you travel over it. It'll have more of an impact on how people perceive the speed bump to be in terms of height. So another way that a speed bump can be used, and this is something that's often overlooked, say you've got a driveway and you need to run a hose or a cable across for whatever reason, irrigation or powering your electric gates. Speed bumps can help you out here as well. So they can not only slow your traffic down, but they can also provide a convenient route for you to get cabling across your drive. And this channel here is what we call a cable channel. Lots of speed bumps have these. It's worth considering. You can actually use it as a kind of cable ramp effectively. So one thing that's not to be confused with though, is where you would put a reinforcing bar in. A lot of speed bumps have a reinforcing bar position in them, depending on the model. And yes, some you can also put your cable or hose through the reinforcing bar, but not always is that the case. Consult us or the manufacturer if you are unsure, and we'll make sure you get the right thing for the job. Now we're going to look at visibility and the different options you've got in terms of highlighting the speed bumps in the day and at night. So this speed bump, for instance, buried in there has got some nice little cat's eyes. So they reflect the source of headlights back at the driver, much like the ones you see on the road. They're really hard wearing, but they are quite small, worth bearing in mind. On this model, you've got the old school reflectors that you would see on like bicycles, or people often put them on fences and things like that to highlight where their drive is. They're great. They are made of quite a hard plastic, so in some occasions they can crack. Now this is a piece of thermoplastic with glass bead embedded into it, and what that does is it acts a bit like a thousand of these cat's eyes really, and will give you a bit of a visual highlight in the dark. It's probably more obvious on this one, which is a little bit more speckly. I don't know if you can see that glinting in the camera or not, but I'm sure Steve will put a nice overlay on it in a minute if you can't. Cheers, Steve. So how do you highlight the speed bumps in the day? We've covered how you see them in the dark. In the day, you need to make sure that drivers can see them so they're not surprised by them. One method is to have alternating colors. So this is a traditional black and yellow. This is great. Obviously, it doesn't really wear out unless you have painted speed bumps, and you just end up with black speed bumps eventually. This is an example of a speed bump that uses thermoplastic paneling. So this is a JSP Ridgeback, got nice contrasting yellow panels in it. So driving along, you're gonna see these yellow triangles standing out against the dark tarmac, concrete, whatever it might be. And you can tell that there is a ramp there that you're going to have to slow down for. So we discussed how you make speed bumps visible both in the night and in the day. Ideally, you want to forewarn drivers that there are speed bumps on site so they can slow down as early as possible, avoid any unpleasant surprises, and make your workplace, driveway, whatever it might be, a safer place to be. How do you do that? With appropriate signage. So this is a speed bump sign. We also have speed roundels, so they indicate what speed they should be going as well. So obviously you don't get people driving 10 miles an hour over a speed bump that's intended for 5 miles an hour. We ship all of our signs to ensure that they get to you in good condition with a film over the top of them. So all our signs are RA2 reflective, which is the same grade you'd get on the highway. So if you see a speed limit sign outside your house on a country road and it's relatively new, it'll be the same reflectivity as these signs. That means that they're seen easily in the dark. They're retroreflective, so they reflect light from car headlights straight back at the driver and are easily seen by anybody basically. It also means that should anybody complain that they didn't know you had speed bumps, you can kind of go to them and go, hey, we had actual road grade signage. You might be wondering where you put your signage. We generally recommend that you put them at the entrance to your property. That might just be the speed limit at that point. And then probably in the preceding 15 meters or so, put your speed bump warning sign, just so that people have adequate time to react, slow down, and get over your speed bump. Obviously, if they're following the speed limit, they shouldn't be going fast enough. They have to worry anyway, but you know, drivers are drivers and they do what they do. If you haven't got posts or need something to mount the signs on, we sell a full range of hardware, including the posts, the clips, you name it. If you don't know what you're looking for, call us, we'll help you out, make sure you get the right thing. So where do you position your speed bumps? You know what type you need, but where do they go? Obviously, you want to avoid putting them on a tight, blind corner because someone's going to come around that corner and hit the bump and go off into a hedge if they're not expecting it, or if they're going way too fast. Straight sections work really, really well for locating speed bumps, and that is because people are obviously traveling in a straight line. They're not going to have any sort of turning motion or any other forces going on when they're navigating the bump. But positioning them apart the right amount is important too. Now, depending on where it's going and what speed limit you're enforcing, that could be anywhere from like 30 meters up to 50 meters. The idea is to make it inconvenient to accelerate between the speed bumps. You want people to go over that first one and think, oh, I can't be bothered to accelerate to get to the next one. There's no point. All I'm going to do is stamp on the brakes again when I get to the next one. So I might as well just roll along at 5, 10, 15 miles an hour, whatever the speed limit you're trying to dictate is. So where do you position the speed bumps side to side on the road, right? You need to make sure that they're centralized for it to look right, but you also want to make sure that you don't have any gaps that people can kind of sneak through. The best practice is to leave around about 100 to 150 mil either side. You don't need to worry too much about this, but what you're aiming for is to allow enough space for water to pass through. So if you get a heavy downpour, the drain's one side of the speed bump, the water's the other side, or coming down a hill or whatever it might be, you don't want it building up, flooding over the curb, and then causing flooding in a local property or other damage. You want to have that route for the water to escape, go down the drain. Connectors. How do you keep your speed bumps aligned and connected together? Now, some speed bumps use this and some speed bumps don't. Our speed bumps, our own brand ones, they use dog bone connectors. These lock into the underside of the speed bump, making sure that the speed bumps stay aligned. They also serve the purpose of allowing any forces exerted on the speed bump to be spread across multiple units, distributing that load on the fixings. Other speed bumps can use things like locking tabs. So as you can see, this is a bit like a train track, I guess. You need a model railway train track or Brio, where you've got a connector either side, or Scalextrics even, where things lock together and serves the same purpose, but just in a different method. And then finally, as we touched on before, a reinforcing bar channel, so you can put a steel bar through all the speed bumps, and again, that aligns them, helps distribute forces that are placed on the speed bumps. You need to perform regular maintenance on speed bumps. People often neglect this step, and it's one of the most common reasons we see speed bumps fail if they're going to fail. All that means is going around periodically and just checking the bolts are tight. Doing that will save you from having to completely replace speed bumps basically. Over time, with vibration, speed bump fixings can, depending on the substrate, loosen off slightly and will start to shift sideways. You'll sometimes see this if you are vigilant. You'll see places where speed bumps have been down for a while and the fixings are kind of out a little bit and leaning. And it just means that no one's tightened the fixings up. They've not checked that they're aligned and retightened and retorqued them. And in line with that, when you're installing your speed bumps, it's also really important not to over tighten the fixings. So if you over tighten them, what you can do is you can crush the material out the bottom of the speed bump. And effectively, that means that you could just lift your speed bump off of the floor and leave the fixings and a little ring of rubber, PVC or whatever it might be on the floor. Not good, obviously it'll cause premature failure. We recommend that you tighten up the fixings until, if you're using the impact driver, until you hear like the first couple of clicks and then back off. You don't need to go any tighter than that. You're just looking to hold the things in place. They've got a lot of surface area on the bottom of them. They won't shift around as long as they're tightened up properly. Any tighter than that, you risk damaging them. The final thing you might be wondering is, what fixings do I use? Now, for the most part, we sell kits that come with fixings that are generally suitable for almost all surfaces. Obviously, if you're fixing a speed bump down to a terrible old piece of tarmac that's only wafer thin, it's not going to work very well. You need to consider maybe resurfacing that section or putting a foundation in. But for the most part, if you're going onto a decent quality tarmac or onto concrete, we have fixings in all of our kits that are suitable. However, if you're buying a speed bump outside of our preset kits, which include fixings, and you're not sure what fixing to use, give us a call. Our team are really helpful. They'll help you find a fixing that will fix your speed bump down onto tarmac, concrete, you name it. We've generally got a suitable solution for you. So before we hop over to John, who's going to show you how to actually bolt these things to the floor, a few more points to consider before you crack on with your installation. Not all speed bumps are pre-drilled all the way through. So this one has got an indentation where you can see. Actually, this one has also got a little steel reinforcing ring in it as well, which helps spread the load when you tighten things up. But speed bumps like this are actually pre-drilled for you. So you've got the hole all the way through. There's nothing wrong with either of these. They both operate in the same way. It just means on the one that isn't pre-drilled, you'll just need to pop a pilot hole through. It's simple. Doesn't take 2 minutes. Don't panic if you don't have those holes pre-drilled. One thing you want to be sure you don't do is drill into a water main, electricity, or whatever it might be that's hiding under your tarmac. It's always worth considering if you have any services buried under the road. Same for when you're installing other products. But yeah, you're drilling holes in the ground. You don't really know what's buried under there half the time. The last thing you want to do is drill through your water main. We're now going to cut to John, who's going to show you how to install your speed bumps. Before we do so, just keep in mind, if we haven't covered your speed bumps in this video, this process is pretty much well the same for all speed bumps that are out on the market. There are the odd extremity to that, gluing down them maybe, but for the most part, you'll have the same exact experience installing anybody's speed bumps. So here's the PPE and tools you need to get the job done.
So today we're going to show you how we install these speed bump kits. On my left hand side we have the top stops, flat top, and on my right hand side this is the Sight Cop Plus, which is suitable for those HGVs. We're going to do a survey on where we feel we're going to install those speed bumps. So let's just imagine for a moment that this is the road. So a couple of things that we have to consider. We don't want to be placing our speed bumps on a bend, okay? We don't want the traffic to speed up between those speed bumps. So here we are, we're happy about the position of our speed bump in relation to the road. What's left to do now is to drill those holes with a 10mm pilot hole. Once we've done that, we can push the speed bump to one side. Then we continue drilling the hole with a 16mm masonry bit. We can blow the dust out, put our fixings in, put the speed bump back into position. We can fix each speed bump with the correct fix in. Remember, you can also use the interlocking bar to keep your speed bump in position if required. And then we're ready to go. So here we have the Top Stop Flat Top Premium, which is suitable for warehousing estates. Essentially, it's the same installation process as the Sight Cop Plus. What we're going to do, the only difference in this case, we're going to use a universal fitting. Well, now you know how to install our speed bumps. It's also important to remember to maintain those speed bumps and to ensure that your fixings are secured tightly. And in areas where you have speed bumps on ramps and on inclines, you're going to have to check those fixings a little bit more regularly. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the video today. And if you want to go to our website at Start Safety and check out our range of stock, and for any further questions, you can contact our sales team.